At best, the alien abduction phenomenon is a terrifying, traumatic experience. At its worst, well, we think they sometimes take people and don't put them back.
I lost my mother and brother to this trauma. He murdered her, then killed himself.
These women are being used as human incubators, with all their children stolen away into the night.
A 6-foot-tall entity of blue-white light paralyzed me, then bent down and said into my ear, "Hi, Steve." It knew my name.
We hear gruesome stories of experiments and dissections. Imagine dying on a metal table while paralyzed, surrounded by alien faces. It's a real horror story. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our show, Abductions 101, UFOs and the Paranormal Connection. My name is Leslie Shaw.
Stephen Shaw here.
We wanted to share with you, we saw a UFO about, is it almost 3 weeks ago now?
July 28th was Monday.
Which happened to be Steve's birthday, which is happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
We saw it standing out on our front deck. It was just a white light that went from west to east, but it was a round white light with no running lights. It was very low. We think only about 1,000 feet in the air.
Yeah, 1,000 to 2,000. And, we eliminated the obvious things like an airplane, like a satellite, like, a helicopter, a drone, all those things you're trying to, say, okay, it's probably one of these. But nope, that's not what it was.
No, one by one, we said, can't be that, can't be that. And it was perfectly silent, which is another big indicator of UFOs. Mm-hmm. And it was a little too fast for a plane. Mm-hmm. It was moving pretty fast, and I can't really explain how fast, but at a pretty fast clip. A lot faster than that. We saw a lot of other planes in the sky that night, and it was moving at least double speed. Yeah,
the only thing it didn't do was one of the other observables was making, unusual, they don't always make those zigzag turns, but
yeah, we wished it had given us a absolutely clear indicator that it couldn't be anything else.
It was a UFO. It was unidentified. And did you want to mention too about our Spanish audio?
We're publishing our second edition of our book, and we decided to do the Spanish audio version after all. We weren't gonna, and then we decided, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah, why not?
So we're gonna have it out in English and Spanish in audio book form, and also, hardback, paperback, and e-edition as well.
Yeah, once we found out that about 67% of younger adults prefer to get their information from an audio book, then it pretty much sealed the deal for us. So
I think we've become used to listening to podcasts for one thing, and so why not just start the recording up and wash the dishes while you're quote unquote reading a book?
That's right. Well, we still wash dishes manually.
Yeah, so some of us do. All right, let's go ahead and introduce our wonderful guests for tonight. We are very pleased with this interview. We're going to be speaking with the O'Leary brothers, Sean and Chris O'Leary.
Yes.
This is a very famous story, and their stories even come out on CNN. So we're really looking forward to this one.
Get ready for a wild ride.
Yes, indeed. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to our show, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned. Our wonderful guests tonight are the O'Leary brothers, and this is a really riveting story. I had Chris on the phone for about an hour, and I just can't wait to interview them. I've been so impatient.
Yes, it's going to be quite interesting for our audience. So hang on.
Yeah. So welcome, Chris and Sean.
Thanks,
and the O'Learys, right? Both
brothers.
Yep. And now, Sean, I believe you were in law enforcement.
Yeah, that's correct. I was a police officer here locally for 20 years.
And Chris, what's your line?
Well, I'm a fine art painter. I'm in collections on 4 continents, and
wonderful.
But I'm also a stand-up comedian. I've been doing that since '90. And
I too am an artist and a painter. So,
she's actually she's actually a graduate from Cal Arts in fine arts oil paints, and she's also a very, very good stained glass artist at this point.
Wonderful. Though I'm not the a painter any longer. I went into stained glass. So you're in several galleries. It sounds like that's wonderful.
Well, I don't really show through galleries anymore. I use online.
Oh,
I mean, that's
of course, that's the wave of the future.
Well, it's current. That's what the current thing is, right?
And the current, yes.
Galleries have to go. They take 60% these days. So
I see.
Yes. We have gone down that route too. Yes,
Yeah.
we agree with you.
So,
even the aliens don't take that much.
now, the two of you are abductees and very long-term abductees, correct?
Well, yes, extremely long term. For me, it started in 1966. Sean is a few years younger, so it was about 73, 74 for him. My mother was taken in 1959 before I was born. So it's intergenerational in our family. Yeah. Whatever she had that they liked, they took us to. So our household, no matter where we lived, they came.
Right. Yeah.
They found us.
That's the commonality that I find with you. Is like we've been tracing back, the same kind of thing with my family bloodline, going back 4 generations at least.
Yeah.
Going from Germany to England to Scotland to California. And there is definitely a real commonality there that we have.
Yes, but when I started doing the research for the book, I realized rather quickly that it was a family affair.
Yes, it seems to be.
They seem to find a genetic line, a bloodline that they want, that meets their particular criteria, and then they'll take these people again and again through their lives, and then they'll start taking
and
kids
they start young
grandkids.
too, like 3 or 6.
Yeah.
For me, it was like 3 years old. So for me, in 63.
It's kind of ironic that they are all about grabbing a family, but they're entirely against the entire concept of families. They don't do that. They are against that kind of structure. These hybrids belong to them. They're not.
Right.
They don't. I don't
Sean,
get shared custody.
Yes.
Right.
We don't get shared custody.
Yeah, Sean, I've been very curious to ask you about certainly about when they basically turned you off, then they turned you on, and that was basically because Chris was basically being protective of you. I believe that's what I recall.
Yes, this story is incredible.
Yeah, our audience needs to hear this.
Yes, Chris, if you could relate that day as you did to me in our interview, I'd really we'd like to hear it in your own words.
Well, we're happy to, of course. It is the centerpiece of our lives, really, and certainly our involvement with the situation, even though our involvement with the situation went back forever. This takes 2 people to tell. My side is witness, and then Sean will tell you.
Yeah, and I think it's better heard with Chris first.
Okay,
it was August 19th, 1996. I was working for the SSPD, the Saratoga Springs Police Department, just doing traffic and crowd control when our town gets very busy. I left work about 5:50, went to my mother's house where Sean was still living. We were going to have a barbecue in the backyard. It was a beautiful sunny day. And Sean was already working as an active duty police officer, and he worked the midnight shift. So he would come home in the morning and sleep during the day. I got there. My mother was there. One of our aunts was there with my mother hanging out, and her son was splashing in the pool. He was 8 years old at the time. And me, and I relaxed on a chaise lounge, glad to be off my feet after directing traffic. And we're waiting for Sean to wake up, to come upstairs to barbecue, and we're in no big hurry. And then things got very weird. For some strange reason, there was a newspaper next to me. it's not strange that the newspaper was there. My aunt brought it over, I'm sure, to show my mother something, but we don't get that paper. It's the Saratogian. It's only good for TV listings. But for some reason, I had this urge as I laid back on this lounge with a beautiful view of the sky. I'm sorry if I'm gesturing too much. There's a lot of Italian.
Perfectly fine.
I picked up the newspaper and I opened it like all the way up. You know what I mean? All the way open in front of my face as I lay back. I wasn't reading it. Why was I holding it? What I was doing was I effectively had blocked my entire view of the sky. And I was holding a barrier in between me and any part of the sky. And I remember thinking, I remember thinking at the moment, I felt like Fred McMurray in like My Three Sons, or any 1950s sitcom dad who would come home from work, the dog would bring the paper and the slippers, and then he would use the paper as a barrier between himself and his annoying family.
Yes.
No proactive paternal parenting going on in the 1950s. Like, I won in Korea, kid, leave me alone. So that's exactly what I was thinking. And all of a sudden, my mother said, there's that UFO you wanted to see, Chris, because we had just been talking about it. And that's a whole other story. But it sounded to me like she was kind of breaking my balls a little bit, you know, the tone. And I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm not going to give her that easy satisfaction of lowering the paper and watching a kid's Mylar balloon spiral away. So I didn't, and I just held it fast. For some reason, I was compelled to. And then my aunt said, wait, what is that? And my mom, now she sounded confused, and she said, I don't know. And I thought, okay, you know what? Let's get this over with. If they're going to all this trouble of this, rehearsing this dramatic piece, it's like Tennessee Williams says, okay, I will. I said, so what's, and I lower the paper, and there was a flying saucer materializing in the air. And there's a lot of details in seeing this. I'll rattle through it. At first, I thought it was very far away because it was blurry, and it was translucent a little bit, like it wasn't all the way, like light coming through it. And it was like, if you've ever seen hot air balloons, when they're like 2 miles away or 3, the color's more indistinct. It's a little blurry. Yes. So I assumed the thing was far away, but as we watched it, it started to become more clear. Suddenly there was like a heat mirage effect to it. It was like shimmering and like this, but not just straight up and down, like on a hot road in the summer, the wavy line.
Yeah, the Phantom Morgana type effect. Yeah.
And but it's slow, and it was kind of wobbling like this, and then suddenly it was clear that it was a flying disc. I didn't think it was. You see, even though it had been taken since 1966, this is 30 years. They had such a complete hold over those big sections of my life that I thought this was the first time I've ever seen anything. And my first reaction was not it's a flying saucer. My first reaction was it's a promotional balloon of the Death Star. It looked kind of like the Death Star if it was deflated, and I don't know. That you mind. A lot of people say when you see something, you automatically leap to the conclusion. It's
no, you're trying to use the rational mind as far as what it obviously should kind of be. That's what I do too. So we understand.
Struggling to make sense of something that makes no sense.
Yeah, don't jump down the rabbit hole first thing. Right.
Yeah.
And it became more clear and more distinct. It was still a graphite dull gray, but I could see that the top half and the lower half were both spinning, and they were spinning in opposite directions. There's a black band across the center. That's kind of what made it look like the Death Star, gray, and in a black band. And then all of a sudden, it was fully there. It was chrome bright. It was reflecting the sun, whereas before it was just not really, I don't know, it was not fully, there was no shadows on it, at first. And now there was a light source and there was shadows under it. It was fully there. And this is when I, genius. It's a flying saucer. There's no way around it. I'm like, these things are real, And, even though I knew they were real, we didn't know they were real. So I'm there and I get up to watch this thing. And my mom, my cousin, my aunt, they're in a trance. They're just, no one has spoken since I said, what's that's it. And I say, I don't know if I was trying to provoke a reaction, but I walked the length. It was the far end of our swimming pool and then just over our fence. And I walked as close as I could on our property line. I stood on the diving board and I was almost under it. And I noticed from this angle that there was a black circle on the bottom of it. It wasn't all silver on both ends. It's a black circle like if it was a globe about the size of Antarctica. And all of a sudden I get a thought in my head, back off. This could be dangerous. You don't know what's coming off. This radiation, who knows? You better get away. And I thought, yeah, I should. Good idea, Chris. It wasn't my idea. It wasn't my thought, but it was put in my head like it was my thought. Just like with the newspaper. They were controlling the situation from that distance. They're managing this whole thing. So I back off. And then I start to get kind of angry. You know what I mean? They didn't take, I wasn't in shock. There was no adrenaline. They kind of take that stuff away from you, even at a distance, I guess. But I'm like, this is aliens. What are they doing? We thought maybe it was something that would just happen to be going by from one important place to another. We're lucky to catch a glimpse, but it is parked over our house, 50 feet in the air. And I got angry, and I thought this could go south any second. They'll never know what happened to us. Family goes missing, terrorists suspected or immigrants, something like that. So I thought, if this is the end, I'm going out like a human being. And I raised both hands in the air and I extended my middle fingers and I shouted, you know what I shouted? It's 2 words.
Yes.
Very common.
Yes.
And I
meant, make it clear. Yes.
I meant it. I was an idiot. Again, I think I was trying to provoke some kind of reaction. You could feel that there were people in there. You could just kind of feel it.
Chris, you told me the other people were actually frozen stiff, like they were, like somehow the aliens had done something to them to make them frozen. Well,
I don't think they were paralyzed, which they've done to us 100 times.
Right.
But they were standing and staring like this without moving, without speaking. And they were shoulder to shoulder. And my cousin was in the pool, but he's in the corner of the pool with his stupid little swim cap. He's 8 years old. He's got the swim cap on and the goggles. And he's staring up at it with his mouth agape. And nobody said anything. All of a sudden, the craft, the black band, a red light lit up. This is the first time we've seen anything outside of and it was a circle, and it went off to the side, and it went all the way around, and it came back the other side, like a traffic light that was 100 times brighter, like a red light on a traffic light. And it went around again, a little faster, and then it whipped around a couple of times, and the entire craft lit up with this road flare type of color. It was rose, orange, pink, and there were little, but it wasn't like shooting sparks, but there were these needles of light that were pulsating out from it and around the whole craft. And I thought, well, I got to go get Sean. I don't think I was going to protect Sean. I have to fess up. I like that. But when I was going to get Sean to protect us, he's got a weapon and he knows how to, I don't think he's ever dealt with this, but in fact we have. Anyway, so I'm going to get Sean. I said, I look at my family's in a trance. And I go and I run up the deck steps to the kitchen door, but something stopped me. A voice said to me, don't go in there. By the time you get back, this will be gone. This is your only chance to ever see something like this. Do you really want to just go inside and miss this? And so I said, oh, yeah, that's true, Chris. Yeah. So for another 20 seconds anyway, I was looking at it and it's pulsing all these lights. But I looked over at my family again, standing there. I'm like, no, I'm getting Sean. I dash in the kitchen and down the stairs, like 4 at a time. He had a lower level bedroom. And I think this is where Sean takes over the narrative.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. For me, the first thing I remember is looking down into the backyard and seeing everybody outside. I can't remember where everybody was seated, except for, I agree with him, Philip my cousin was in the shallow end of the swimming pool I even remember him wearing that cap they used to wear in like the 1920s. And I got excited about seeing everybody there. There's people over, looks like a party going on. And let me describe how I'm looking out at everybody. There isn't a window. There's not a porthole. It's just 100% clear. It's an unobstructed view, as if there was no craft that I was on, as if I was just kind of hovering there. I could see outside the ship that I was on without seeing the internal walls or anything. I could just see the outside. So I got excited. I saw everybody there. I wanted to go swimming. So I asked, can I go swimming? And this is the first time I saw, that I remember seeing. I'm sure I knew they were there because I asked them. But somebody off to my right leans forward and looks over at me. He's standing parallel to me, maybe 10 feet off to my right. And it's what can only be described as a short gray alien. And he leans at the waist and turns his head in my direction so he could see me and says, "We're taking you to bed. You can get up and go swimming."
Could you see the pool?
Oh, yeah, that's when I noticed. The next thing I noticed was I'm looking down at the pool again, and I see light reflecting off the water. Really strange, like little dots of light reflecting off the pool water. And I thought to myself, boy, is that the sun's reflection? Maybe it looks that, I've never seen that before. Maybe it looks that way because the angle I'm at. Like I knew I was elevated and I didn't feel out of place at all. When I'm looking down, I'm not saying to myself, what am I doing here? What's going on? I felt very comfortable. I felt as if it was normal.
A sense of familiarity, right? It's like this is like,
exactly. Yeah. So I did see the light bouncing off the water, and I thought it was strange. I also noticed standing directly behind me, behind each shoulder, were two other gray aliens that were taller. They were slightly shorter than I was, and I like looked right in the one's eye, and he was motionless. He was just staring straight forward. And I felt completely normal standing there while talking to them until all of a sudden, boom, I'm in the basement. I've got an arm over an alien's shoulder on the right and my left arm over an alien's shoulders on the left. And all of a sudden I feel as if I'm drunk or drugged. I'm having a very difficult time walking. I'm moving my legs, but they're doing the brunt of the work. We're in like the living room area of the basement apartment, and we're walking towards the bedroom. I say to the one, I look off to the one on my right, and I say to him, thanks. And he doesn't say anything. So a moment later, I thank him again. And his reaction is, yeah, he says. Those are his exact words.
So you got a sense that they were male, the Greys, and also too.
Yeah, I can't say for certain, but that's the vibe they gave, and
the vibe. Okay.
The voices as well that you hear in your head, they sound like male voices.
And how old were you when this happened?
26.
Okay.
I was a police officer for 2 years at this point.
All right.
Full time. I did a year part time prior to that, so I was 3 years into law enforcement. The next moment, I don't remember being put into bed, but I'm in the bed, and I hear an alien off to the left side of my bed saying to another one who's at the foot of my bed, he's in an absolute panic. He says, he's coming. We're going to get caught. And I've never seen anybody so scared in my life or heard anybody so scared in my life.
Mm-hmm.
The one at the foot of my bed is completely calm and says to the one who was freaking out a little bit, he says, no, he's not yet.
And this was when they stopped me from going in the house and made me watch a little longer.
Yeah, now my thought in my head was, who are these guys afraid of catching them? Is there some like supreme being on his way here? Who are they afraid of? And are they not supposed to be doing this? Is what the thought I had. And it took every ounce of energy that I had to sit up in bed and look at them. They were both now at the foot of my bed, and ask, who's coming? And they both turned their heads to look directly at me, and they said in unison, kind of slowly, go to sleep. And when they said that, I had absolutely no choice but to put my head down and start drifting off to sleep. And next thing I know, I hear a pounding on my bedroom door. It's Chris. He says, Sean, get up. There's a UFO outside. And he says it loudly. He's shouting it at me. And I'm startled. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm trying to use telepathy to respond to Chris, because I was just talking to the aliens using telepathy. And what I'm saying to him is, of course there is. They were just here. They just left. And then it dawns on me what's going on. And I threw the covers off me and ran upstairs. And by that point, it's gone and everybody's up there. And I just remember it was so bright. And that's when I was really coming to the realization of what had happened.
For me, when I ran down those stairs, this is the third instance that they manipulated me in this incident.
They're implanting a suggestion in your mind, right? To get you to not come through the door.
That's it exactly. I get to the door, I'm going to fling it open. Sean, get up. There's a UFO outside. Come on, get up, get up.
Right.
But a thought in my head said, wait, don't open the door and startle him. He has a gun. He could shoot you if you startle him, wake him up like that. So I thought, oh, good idea, Chris. I mean, haven't really ever thought of it that way. So I didn't. Instead I pounded on the door with my whole forearm, close to breaking, and screamed, Sean, get up, get up. There's a flying saucer outside. There's a UFO outside. And then I ran back up to see what I could see. And at this point, it had stopped glowing like a fiery pincushion road flare, and it had moved. It was now over our neighbor's house across the street, and it was heading due east. Interestingly enough, it was no longer flat disc. It was like that, sideways, like a wheel. And it just ambled away. Sean came up right away, but I felt bad for waking him up because he was really hurting. He was like wincing, like in the sun. Like kind of like if a prison, someone who's in the hot box in a prison movie from the 70s, for a week, and then they let him out.
Wow.
Yeah, they're blinking in the sun.
Yeah.
And we're all flying saucers. It's incredible, Sean. And we had the idea, let's hop in the convertible and chase it out Route 29. It was important for me that Sean see this, So we do that. Sean's driving. He's exhausted. And I'm babbling. And I said, we couldn't see it. It had veered off some way. And the road just goes that way. So I said, Sean, it was incredible. It was a real thing. There's flying saucers. They're really flying saucers out there. It's unbelievable. And Sean said to me, yeah, I know. They were bringing me back. And my thought was, oh, man, I really woke Sean up too fast. He's conflated this with a dream or something. And I said, so condescendingly. And this is what I said was,
Big brother.
Yeah. Nobody's talking about alien abductions. I'm just talking about a flying saucer that materialized and hovered over the house for 10 minutes. Like it was too big of a leap for me.
Right.
Even I thought it'd been taken forever. And Sean says, no, seriously. And he said, they've taken you a lot. And I, again, condescendingly, Sean, I think I would know if I had been taken by aliens. I've never been taken by aliens, okay? And Sean said,
don't you remember the time Mom screamed and said they're back? Why do they have to come back? And
why do they always have to come back? That's what she screamed. And by the time he was in the middle of those free sentences, I finished it with him. I did remember that time. I'd never heard my mom scream like that. She saw them landing in the backyard and coming to our house in 1974. And I remember that. I was running from the living room to see what's going on. I was thinking, who's coming back? Our Uncle John, who we aren't really big on? No, it was these monsters in the backyard. So in that moment, it's a good thing I wasn't the one driving. I have to tell you. Because it hit me.
Shock, right?
It was like if somebody was standing on the side of the road, our car is coming, and he just kind of lofts a bowling ball. It goes through the windshield and hits me in the face. That's how this hit me, the shock, and it just shattered whatever hold. It like shards of glass that did just, and I just sat there, and everything came like if you go out a football stadium door, like that's pressurized, it just kind of pushes you. You feel it. And It was kind of like a dolly shot in a movie, you know, like in a horror movie where the guy's there and then he sees the giant ants or whatever. You know, the background zooms. It was hard.
Yeah, I wasn't just when I went upstairs and went outside, I wasn't just wrestling with what happened here. I had all these other memories just come right back, and I was trying to process them as quickly as I could.
Right. And that you must have, because you mentioned the incident that was 2 decades before.
Yeah, just minutes later when we were in the car.
Yeah, I can't describe how quick all these
it was
pieces.
Like my memory had been unlocked because of, I'll call it their mistake. You know, if they hadn't been seen and Chris hadn't come down, woke me up, I never would have remembered that. If I had drifted back off to sleep and woke up an hour or two later, I don't believe I would have remembered any of it.
Have you felt like there have been any attempts since that where they've tried to reblock those memories to kind of like, you know, keep you from talking about it? And the other question I would have too is like the people that were at the pool, did you ever like talk to them after your family members? Like, did they have any recollection of what happened, or did they just say we saw a UFO?
Well, that's what they knew about it. I mean, at this point in that car on Route 29, we were the ones who felt, and all these pieces fall into place. It was, and when I say our memories came back, I don't mean, oh, I see a glimpse of me doing something. No, it's like they were always there. You remember everyone, and you remember what you were thinking at the moment.
Very vividly.
You remember what you said, you remember what they said, what you were thinking, which is even more important than what they did and where you went. You remember your interaction and how it went so solidly. And it turned out, you know, I'm so angry. And that's why I'm out here. We're here out of spite a little bit. Because these things had no problem hiding 30 years of my life from me. They were never going to let me have it. They just took it from me. I blame them for poor school grades. You know, they take you in the middle of the night for hours.
Yeah.
But it turned out that our entire lives, in that day, in that moment, this is why this is the important day for us. We realized that our entire lives were not our entire lives. That our lives was a science fiction and horror movie, all right? With all the science fiction and horror bits cut out on the editing floor. Right. But we got those back. And
has your mom...
Chris, would you explain to our audience what you were telling me about how they turn your memories on when they abduct you so they don't have to go through the whole terror thing again, and then they turn them back off when they put you back, right? Is that how it works?
Yes, it's so manipulative. You know, they block your memory and all your memories every time they drop you off. So when they come back, each time they come back, you don't remember them. So it's a shock. You're looking at a tall gray and a short gray walking at you. And my thought would be, there's no way these things are alive. There's no way those broomstick limbs can move. This is not happening. And every time it was like, it's a regular day. And then it's surrealism. It's a surrealist painting walking at you. So, and then when they get closer, you, like if you try to scream, or if you try to run, or if you think about fighting, they know it as soon as you think it, and they paralyze you right where you stand. They freeze you. You can't even move your head. You can move your eyes. But then when they get close, they go, wait. You remember us. You remember me. Just like that. Because they speak exactly how you speak.
So it's the same. It's the same handlers or the same grays every time, like that, as you perceive that. Oh, remember me? I was here for the last 30 years. Is it the same one, or are they different sometimes?
That's a great question, and because of the manipulation and you don't know, but sometimes you do get the feeling that these ones, they know you.
Sometimes it's a little different. Like sometimes, like the one I described had one short gray and two taller ones returning me, but often it's one taller gray and two shorter grays.
Yeah. And so they, at that point, wait, you remember me, and they don't flip a switch or point a rod at you and flick it. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you remember. And while they're in there, in that instant, they also take away your anger, your fear, your rationality, your full consciousness, and they turn you into a happy, complacent puppet. So you're going from screaming and trying to run. My mistake was I tried to lock the back door once. I was going to do that. And my mom said, that won't work. And she took my brothers upstairs. But she took them upstairs and hid. They hid in an attic under the dormer window of our house, and huddled in fear, like Anne Frank. God. It happened again and again. I mean,
that was my first. That's my first memory of the aliens, and I was so young, I didn't know enough to be scared. I just didn't understand what was going on. Right. And that alien floated through the roof, and what he said was, in a real whispery voice, "You can't hide from us."
All right. Nice.
Yeah, great. Nice. real comforting there. You guys, we should really take our first break here.
All right.
Just like so, for whatever.
Good idea.
Okay.
We're all wound up now. So
yes, our audience will be on pins and needles to return. So we'll be back in a moment, everyone.
Leslie, you're kidding me.
What?
Our merchandise store is up?
Of course, my darling. All of our amazing concepts of shirts, mugs, and bumper stickers are ready to go.
No way.
Way.
Even my brilliant Egyptian concept that no one else ever thought of before?
Yes, that one too, and lots more. All at our new store at etsy.com/shop/abductions101.
Wow. I want a shirt and a mug and...
Well, Stephen, and all our curious listeners, just go to etsy.com/shop/abductions101 to see all of our unique designs.
I'm going there.
And we're back, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you for staying tuned. We appreciate it. And with our wonderful guests, the O'Leary brothers. I wanted to ask when Chris and I were chatting a couple of months ago, he was telling me how, in this case, when they put Sean back, they were in a rush because you had come down the stairs, and they didn't turn his memories back off this time, and that's why Sean, you suddenly had all your memories of all these incidents, right? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, I was fighting it the whole way. I'm talking to them as they're trying to put me to bed. So my mind is stimulated as they're putting me to bed. And then he's freaking out as I'm in bed. So it wakes me up. And then as soon as they leave, Chris pounds on the door. So I never really had the opportunity to fall back to sleep. So it was all fresh in my mind. And I had all these other memories come back as well. But the thing is, they're all mostly fractured memories still. Like, I don't remember them coming and getting me that afternoon. I don't remember where we were. I just remember looking down into the backyard and seeing everybody and wanting to go swimming.
The aliens fucked up. That's what happened. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Cocky, foolish. apparently they're not infallible because they fouled all over the place that day. It was a major fuck up. They're returning him in broad daylight. First of all, bring him back earlier. How do they not know? You know, people are going to show up 6 p.m. on a summer. You think they know all that stuff because it seems like they do because they move so gracefully. They're like in the movie Groundhog Day, where Murray decides he's going to rob the armored car just because he can.
Yeah.
He watches and he knows when this guy's going to drop something, when this guy's going to turn and look at a woman, and he just slides in and gets it. They really seem to work that way. But, you know, and it was it was a series of accidents that this happened. We could have so easily lived the rest of our lives, the last 30 years, not knowing who we are, not knowing what we've done and what we've been through, and these creatures.
But always living your life too with an underlying PTSD that you can't really explain because you know something isn't right. You know, that kind of that's me. I live in a perpetual PTSD
because we didn't have anything to compare it to. You know what I mean?
Right. Your whole life.
I'm sorry to hear that.
His whole life. Yeah.
So your mother, you mentioned your mother had her first experience at 59.
Well, that day, let me just finish with that day.
Sure, of course.
Sure.
I was blocking my view. If it wasn't for my mother insisting on me looking, and then if it wasn't for me going to get Sean and interrupting their return process. Right. I mean, the reason they said, yeah, because they knew we were watching. They knew. This is a botched operation.
And I think he didn't want to further the conversation. I don't think he wanted me thinking. I think he wanted me to fall back to sleep quickly. And the more alerted I am, the less apt I am to fall asleep, I guess. I don't know. Or he was just not very friendly.
So an indication of this is that at least sometimes they need to put you to sleep for a certain amount of time, maybe more than 30 seconds for the memory hold to kick in. And
right. You're asleep and they give you some sort of another suggestion, a hypnotic suggestion that they've implanted a long time ago, I think, you know.
Well, if I didn't wake him up, he would have probably never remembered anything, and we would never have remembered anything. And one thing is when they do, wait, you remember me, and you remember them. You don't just remember them from the last time. You remember all of the abductions. They open the whole book for you. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think one is they just don't want to answer the same questions every time. They don't want it to be their Groundhog Day, you know? So, and another reason maybe is so you know they're not going to kill you, that they're going to bring you back. So that way you know what the parameters of what they do are and what sort of cooperation they're looking for. So they open the whole book, and then when they drop you back off, they close that book tight, like a 15-year-old girl's diary with a little lock in the shape of a heart. And that day, Sean woke up. Sean got out of bed with the whole book, his whole book open. And he was able, in minutes in this car ride, to remind me of one that we had in common. And that was it. It was enough. A lot of people think we have too many details. Well, that's too bad, because we do have these details. The way we recover our memory is, I don't know, it's far from the normal route. We recovered our memory by having aliens in their ship get in our face. It forced us to realize what's going on. Especially, you know, I didn't see the aliens that time, but I have seen them many, many times. And so we're happy. I'm happy to have I would hate to live my life and die, and then you go up in heaven. They go, dude, you were dealing with me. And I'm like, come on, stop it. No, seriously.
Yeah, yeah. Can you imagine that every time they'd have to be dealing with a person that having an adrenal dump, where they just went into an adrenal mode every time because they didn't know? So it's like going to the doctor. Yeah, you got to go to the doctor. You don't want to go to the doctor, but oh yeah, I know the doctor. I've been here before.
It makes so much sense.
Get it over with.
It makes so much sense that they go from a screaming person in terror to like, oh, this again, just like that.
That's what we'd do.
Yeah. So.
Of course, it's different with Sean. Yeah. Sean is the prize. Sean is the one. Sean is the chosen one, at least out of us.
Yeah.
And they had a very different relationship with Sean.
Yeah, I had a mostly positive relationship with them. There were a few things they did that I didn't like taking a scoop mark out of my face and giving me an implant. But other than that, they were always pretty kind to me. And as a little kid, the worst part for me as a child, I called it freezing, like freeze tag. I asked them not to freeze me anymore. And they agreed. They said, so long as you do what you're told, we won't do it. And they were true to their word. They didn't paralyze me anymore from that point until, in the later years, I've been paralyzed here a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And as a child, I honestly would get excited to see them. I didn't know who they were. I didn't know that they were aliens, but I knew this was more exciting than what other people were doing. They would answer questions. They would talk to me. We would have small talk.
Really?
One was very concerned when I was upset. They've done things they probably weren't supposed to for my benefit. One told me something that was going to happen in the future. And it was... I won't tell you what it was because it's going to sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
But when he did, the tall alien, the tall gray, overheard it, and he was in the hallway, and he looked, and I don't know if his face actually changed or not, but you could see the look of shock on his face, like he could not believe what he just heard. He walked up to the short gray who told me, and he asked him one question. He's asked, "Are you stupid?" And he turned around and walked away. And I wanted to know when this future event was going to take place. And the short one just meekishly said, I can't.
Yeah.
He's not allowed to, huh? Okay.
Yeah. And this event actually happened. We will reveal it in our book, right? We've got to, because that's going to be for posterity. Everything has to come out. But this event, it was so extremely unlikely, and it did happen. And so that indicates to me, it seems to be the case, and he wasn't guessing, right, Sean?
No, he knew it. Yeah. They know the future.
So it was a precog kind of vision of his?
I don't know how they know, but it wasn't any type of guessing. I just knew that he knew what this was going to take place. And it's something that you would think that there's no way that an alien would even think about this, let alone know what we're even talking about, let alone know the future of it.
Yeah.
Don't tell us. We'll wait for the book.
Yeah. We don't mean it like that, but
no. Well, I understand.
We would have a hard time believing it.
Yeah.
Well,
they would. For a couple.
I wanted to ask. We do.
But they've done the same for me. They reveal things they shouldn't, and they know they shouldn't, but they do.
They do.
A lot of people have a very mistaken opinion of these beings, that they're AI, that they're robots. These things are complex, extremely complex, and they're capable. They have an emotional range. They have emotions. Okay. They don't seem to have a lot of joy. That's not one of them. Their emotions range from annoyed to indifferent, usually, but they can care about you. And maybe there are handlers that have seen us all our lives.
And they can be afraid too, as you've just said.
That's really interesting you're saying about the future, because I've had that several very important times, and one was about
our audience has heard them all, though. But
about the election in 2000.
What I want to hear instead is, Chris, you told me on the phone about a Mantid encounter that you had, and I feel this is critically important. And I wanted you to tell us about that, but I also wanted to ask Sean if he also has ever seen one of them too.
Not that I recall, no.
But Sean was introduced to 4 young, strange-looking aliens who may have been hybrids.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody said hybrid,
right?
But they looked like they could have been.
And
it was just kind of an awkward meeting. There were 4 of them, I believe, maybe a 5th one. And they were all in line. I think they might have even been holding hands with each other. And the one at the far end, my right, just said thank you. And that was that.
Could they have been your offspring?
I'd have to, that would be speculation. I have no memory of any type of process that would lead to that, or being told of hybrid offspring. So that would just be speculation.
Right.
Yes, Chris told me about his Mantid encounter when I asked, who's in charge? It's like, who's the highest ranking aliens, of which type? And you said to me you think the Mantids might be the ones in charge, right?
Oh, they're in charge. At least, as far as these beings go, yes. Do they have bosses somewhere and, CEOs somewhere in another dimension or world? Maybe. But the ones that are here, the Mantis are the boss.
Please tell us all about that encounter, if you would.
It was only, as far as I know, it was just a one-time thing. But what was happening is we were on a larger ship. They'll come get me in a small ship. You go to someplace bigger, and a ship bigger, and then they bring you back on a shuttle again. And I became alert as they were I became alert walking. I remember nothing, but I'm walking behind my 2 handlers, 7-foot tall grays, the tall grays. And they're returning me. They're walking me. They like to make you alert enough to walk. They want you to be ambulatory. They don't want to carry you. They don't want, they don't want to have to levitate you or whatever they can do. They wake you up just enough to walk. And that's about it.
So you're kind of groggy, right?
You're drugged and groggy. And whatever they did to me during the abduction, I have no idea, but I know what we're doing. We're walking back, and we're walking around a curved hallway, and a lot of the alien ships are all curved. From what I see, I don't know if I've ever seen a right angle on a ship of any kind. It's all curved like a Corvette Stingray, organic. And that applies to their hallways and their rooms and everything. So we're going around this curved hallway, and the 2 handlers are about, 6 feet in front of me. They walk at a real clip. They're fast. You got to keep up with these things. So I lag behind. And as we go around the curve, there was a door open, and on my left, and I just look. As we go by, I saw some commotion, and there was 2 tall grays, and they were helping this even taller insect thing. I first thought grasshopper, but you could see the serrated, folded over arms of a praying mantis. I'm only seeing this for a second, and they were helping him. He was stiff. He was old. He was creaky. He wasn't green. He was like brown, like his skin was dry, like almost cracked. I could feel his pain as they're moving him into big chair, like a throne even. And that's what I see. And the door closes, and I'm still walking behind the tall grays, and then there's a booming voice in my head and the two tall handlers. And it said, "Bring him back here. He saw me. Bring him back." And the tall gray, this is how complex some of these things are. The relationship is, I mean, sure, they kidnap you, but sometimes there's, he said to the mantis back, he said, you know what? We really got to get this guy back, tight window. And he didn't see anything. We've got him under. He didn't see anything. So and the man just cut him off. He saw me. I saw through his eyes. He saw me. Bring him back. And he goes, the tall gray said, okay, yeah, okay. And we're, a little further down the hallway, and the tall gray leans into me. And I don't know, it's a whisper. He leans into me and he says, "Don't speak. Don't say a word. Don't." And we go back into the room, and it's not even a big room. It's kind of curved and round, but not big. And now there's 4 tall grays in there with me, and this big insect grasshopper mantis sitting on a throne, and he's wearing a huge flowing oversized purple robe, not like a Hugh Hefner robe. I mean, like a Japanese war shogun,
samurai shogun.
Yeah, big flowing, and it's dark purple and very intense color. And there we are, and I know the handlers had made me sedate to keep me cool, to keep me quiet. They get in there and they can help you through situations. And so I didn't say anything. And the mantis says, "Put him on his knees." And, as groggy as I was, I thought, wow, really? I was like insulted and a little, I wasn't scared. They take away your fear, but I was like, what an asshole thing to do. I was maybe 10. On my knees. So the tall gray says, "Just get down here. Just, there you go. Just kind of stay there." And the mantis then starts drilling in me. And he's staring me down. And I know he's in my head, and he's telling me, "You didn't see me. You never saw me. You did not see me. And if you ever tell anyone that you saw me, I will kill your parents."
Whoa.
And they let it hang there. He let it hang there. And the other ones just kind of hung back. Then he said, "I'll kill your dog." "What's his name?" "Your dog." And he's looking into my eyes to pull it out of me, what my dog's name was.
Wow.
And it, unlike the grays who are so smooth and you don't really feel it, this was painful. I felt it in my eyes. It felt like he was pulling dental floss out of my optic nerve through my eyes. I could feel this pulling. It was real painful. And looking at him, it was all like white, except for him. And he says, "Ha! Poochie. Your dog's name is Poochie. If you ever tell anyone that you saw me, I will kill Poochie. Get him out of here." They're like, "Yeah, okay, come on, let's go." And the 2 tall grays got me up and out of that room, and I never saw them do this ever. As soon as we got out of that room, they said, "Let's run. Come on, how fast can you run? Let's go." And come on, seriously.
Wow.
They ran me. They wanted to get me on that ship before he changed his mind and just killed me. They were scared for me. They cared. Right. They tried to cover for me. But there's the hierarchy that they can't break, the mantis, the tall grays, the short grays. And so, well, you know what? I'm going to say this to that mantis. I'm sure he's watching. My parents are dead.
Right.
Poochie's been dead for 40 years. So do your worst. I'm telling everyone about you.
Yep, you certainly are.
How long did you keep the secret?
Until that day in '96, which was the day that it all broke open. And there was so much to talk about, and that's one of the most. That's the only time when I think I had cause to be afraid, and it wasn't of the Greys. So they're complex beings. Yeah, they're taking over the world. Yeah, it's an invasion. They showed up 80 years ago, never left. You know, when are you leaving, guys? When are you leaving? 80 years, you've been here. You've never told anybody anything except some abductees. Never an excuse. When are you leaving? If it's not an invasion, when are they leaving? Let me know.
They certainly do not like our nukes. We know that for a fact.
Yes. When I was talking to you before, Chris, you were saying that you do believe that this is their purpose. And, you know, because a lot of the messages we get from the aliens are take better care of the planet, stop using nukes. We hear this a lot. This again and again is the message. On your take, they want us to take better care of the planet so they can take it from us.
Yes, that is my take. There have been moments when they warned me about nuclear weapons. One of the few moments that a tall gray was actually relating to me like a human being,
right.
But I'm going to just quote the tall grays. All right. People say, how do you know this? How do you know that? You're just, even if these things did happen to you, you're speculating as to what they're doing. This is what the tall grays have told me. And it wasn't like it was a secret to them. They were bragging and they were telling us what was going to happen and it happened to me a couple of times in different years, maybe different beings. I don't really know. They kind of all look alike. I don't want to sound human, but this is what, and I implore everybody, if you take away anything from seeing me here tonight, other than the fact that I need to lose a few pounds, if you take anything else away from this, it is this. The tall grays said to me, soon we will all live here together and everyone will know their place. So, and where's our place right now? Controlled, forced surgical procedures, forced reproduction,
right?
No autonomy. These people who say, "Oh, the aliens, they're here. They're going to raise our consciousness."
No.
The first thing an alien does when he gets within range of you is lower your consciousness.
Yeah.
So you're not alert. You're not thinking clearly. You're not like, where's my gun? You're like, oh, these guys are great. What do you want me to do? Go get in the ship and shut up. Yeah, can do. They lower your consciousness. I don't know where people get this. It's wishful dreaming. It's not even wishful thinking. It's absurd. They said they're never leaving. And they said, we will know our place. And guess what? It's not going to be the head of the table. And what's the best place you could hope for? These are hive-minded, anthill, beehive. They're insect-like. What kind of role do you want there? Worker or drone? You could say goodbye to, music, art, poetry, literature, and your own thoughts, because there's not room in the gray empire for your thoughts. They'll do that for you. Of course, what do I know? That's just what they said to me,
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Did
really,
they ever give you an inkling of where they were coming from?
I believe there was a layover in Detroit. And, it came by Greyhound bus. I couldn't believe it. I think it's, British Columbia, maybe.
That's why they call it Greyhound bus.
Oh, Greyhound bus.
Of course.
Writing that down.
I'm stealing that.
Yeah, go for it. I got a smile out of Sean. We got a smile out of Sean there. That was good.
Now, Sean, as I say, he's the one they like. Me, I kind of slow walked everything. I was less than enthusiastic. But Sean, they treated him better because he treated them better, maybe. You know what I mean? And they had him perform superhuman feats of telekinesis.
Really?
And molecular manipulation. They didn't do that with me. They mostly told me, be quiet. They did introduce me to a hybrid once. That was a thing. But Sean was the one who could do things. He's the only person I know who's ever had a small moment of using a superpower. It is. Go ahead. You got to tell him, Sean. This is like the big.
Let's take a.
We got to take one.
Let's tease our audience
and
again,
enforce pause.
And when we come back, we'll hear about that from Sean.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Leslie Shaw, and I'm here to tell you about the incident that happened. My husband and I got married on my birthday, so. We were celebrating both my birthday and our anniversary camping at Whitewater Campground. And the bank called me and said, "Are you spending all your money in a Texas Walmart right now?" And it's like, "Oh, no, we are not." And they had drained everything out of our account but 86 cents. That's all we had. And at the time, that was our only bank account. And so we were kind of stuck, and fortunately the bank was great, and they said that they would refund it, our money between 5 and 9 business days later. So I was trying to figure out what to feed us for that time period. So I remember opening the pantry going, what am I going to make? And then I'm a stained glass artist, and I had several pieces in a gallery at the time, and one of them sold, and we just got lucky. And I remember it was almost $300, and we were able to go grocery shopping with it and at least feed us for the week it took. And the bank was great. It only took the 5 days, and we didn't have to wait the whole 9. But I would rather it didn't have to happen at all. And we're back, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned. Sean, please tell us all about your telekinetic episode.
Sure. As a kid, they were coming and getting me quite often. There were times, of course, that other family members would be taken with me. But there was a lot of times where I was taken alone, and it seemed like quite a bit to me. And, well, this one time, they were teaching me things from time to time. And one of which had to do with telekinesis. What they had me and another child in this room, and they had like sticks in front of us, and on each end of the stick it was lit up. As a child, I thought it was fire. I called it a fire stick. I don't know if they called it a fire stick as well, but I did. But looking back, it may have just been some like taser type thing at each end. I'm not sure. It may have been an actual flame. I don't know. And they were spinning in front of us, just floating in air, spinning around like a wheel. And I had no idea what we were supposed to do or what they wanted us to do. They very often wouldn't explain what they wanted you to do. They would just put you in front of a situation and expect you to figure it out for yourself.
Okay.
So I was a kid. I don't know exactly what age I was, whether I was 8 or 10, somewhere probably in that area. And I had no idea what they wanted me to do. So the thing flew up a little bit higher, and it flew right at me and hit me in the side of the head. And it hurt a little bit. And I asked the other kid, didn't happen to the other kid, and I asked that kid, how do you do it? And as soon as I said that, we each had a gray alien standing behind us. And the one standing behind me touched me on the top of my head with his finger. And as soon as he did that, like a jolt of electricity, a bolt of electricity come flying through my head right down to the center of my brain. It was a direct little line. It didn't go through my whole brain. It just went to one exact spot in the center of my brain, and it like woke that section of my brain up. I could literally feel that area of my brain for the first time in my life, like it was like jump started.
Activated, yeah.
Like, yes, activated, like it had been dormant my entire life. And as soon as that happened, I could control that stick with my brain. And I raised it up to nearly ceiling height, and I spun it around real quickly like a helicopter blade and flew it around the entire room, kind of like a boomerang. And after once or twice around, they stopped it in midair, and the one standing behind me, in a somewhat excited tone, says to the other, I've never seen anything like it. This is what we've been doing this for the whole time. And the other one turns to look at him, and he says, I know, but he's also relaying to him to calm down. So that's all I remember about that specific incident.
Amazing. Do you share Chris's opinion that this is an invasion?
Well, I'm saying Chris could be right, but I don't know that he is. I have no idea what the agenda is, to be honest with you. If it is, I don't know. It seems like they've invested a lot of time into me, and I don't know why they would do that at all, quite frankly. It seems weird to me why they would take me so often and put so much effort and man hours and invest the risk getting seen or what have you to take this kid along at night and sometimes in broad daylight, sometimes with witnesses. So I don't know. I can't say that this is an invasion. I don't know. That's what I'll leave it as. I would have to speculate. I don't know. They never told me. They seemed pretty kind to me specifically, so I couldn't say.
Yeah, for me, from the age of 3, I'd say they've been most of all pretty kind to me too. So that's my take on things.
At the same time, he's right that they are committing multiple crimes that your neighbor.
Oh, for sure.
His life in prison.
Right.
For.
Any abduction is a litany, a laundry list of felony crimes that you would serve life in prison for, or in some cases execution.
Right. We've had guests that are just like, oh well, they're very airy-fairy about it, and other people say that kind of in between. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I've spent hundreds of thousands of sleepless nights probably in my lifetime, and I've had my semen stolen. I know I have.
And his brother was so traumatized by the event. He slept in the closet for 2 years as a child because he was afraid of the little men that came at night.
And then he committed a murder-suicide after my dad died in 2017.
Yes, I
lost almost my whole family in 3 months.
Yeah, we think he shot his mother and himself and his 2 cats.
He became very, very paranoid.
And he, in the last years of his life, he became incredibly paranoid and miserly and hermit-like. And we think it was due to the early childhood trauma.
He installed ring cameras all over the place and just, he's the type of guy like say he would teach college level calculus for fun for a few extra bucks.
He was a brilliant man,
So-
but he had just emotional problems his whole life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But so we're thrilled with him either, you know.
No.
And then, you know, you guys don't get, if you have hybrid children out there, you don't get any say in how they're raised. You don't know how they spend their days. You don't get to be parents at all, you know, like you said.
Right.
I was introduced to a hybrid son of mine, and it wasn't for my benefit. It was because they really liked this kid.
I think it's for the children's benefit to somehow connect with their biological parent. I think it's good, for, you know, because they do it with women too. They'll ask them to coddle their babies, you know, and their toddlers. So we think it's something for the children to make their lives better somehow.
They were returning me from an abduction again, and we're walking through a ship, and I'm becoming more alert. I'm like, I'm noticing details, and we're walking to a more remote part of the ship. At first, it was a real busy area, lots of voices in your head, abductees, grays, work crews, all kinds of stuff. Now I don't hear anybody, and the ship's getting darker, and the hallways are getting tighter, and they stop at this dark area with like just some equipment, and they said, "Hey, hey," and that's how they said it. Just a lot of people think they speak robotically, like human. We request your no. They are so skilled at what your brain is and who you are that they get in there and they know how people talk to you, your accent, your vernacular, your vocabulary, all of it. They're so conversational. They're skillful. And he said, "Hey," one of them said, there's two. And whenever there's two gray handlers, one talks and the other nods because they're probably both thinking it, you know. Like, and he says, "Hey, we were wondering, would you do us a favor?" Just like that. Just like a college friend asking you to help them move.
Right. Sure.
And I'm more alert than I normally am at these things. I'm very alert, and but I'm still helpful. You know, I'm not fully alert, or I grab him by the throat and run for the fire exit. So I said, "Sure. Yeah, what do you guys need?" They said, we have a couple of minutes before we have to bring you back. A couple extra minutes, which sounded phony to me. I mean, they're tight schedule. They're not like, "Oh, well, we got a few minutes. Let's get some Java, you know.
Let's play a game of Uno."
Right. So it sounded funny. "We got a few minutes before I have to bring you back. Would you be willing to meet someone?" And I said, "Sure. Yeah. Great. Who wants to meet me? I mean, people on Earth don't even want to meet me." Like, who wants to meet me? I said, because I'm fairly well engaged. I'm at like 70% alert. I don't know. And they said, "Well," and they say that a lot when they're about to lay something on you. Well, they just know how our language works.
Right.
And, well, he's one that we made from you. Okay. And they said, and then they started talking. They're like, "And you see, he's really great. We really like him. He's smart. He's funny." I didn't know they had an appreciation for funny. And this was years before I started doing stand-up. This was 1979. I was like 17 years old that summer. Like, he's smart. He's funny. He lifts up everybody in his work group. He never tears anybody down. And he makes the work fun for everybody. Everybody likes him. And we always try to reward him, and we say the same thing. How can we reward you? What can we give you? And they said he always asks for the same thing. He wants to meet his Earth dad. I know. That's what they said. His Earth dad. It sounds like a failed Bill Cosby sitcom from the 70s.
No, not at all.
It makes sense.
Or like organic coffee, Earth Dad, complete with bugs and dirt. So it's weird, but I'm not going to candy coat it and pretend it was anything other than that.
Right.
I mean, it means I'm doing it for nothing if I'm not being 100% honest. And they said he wants to meet his Earth Dad.
So what was he like?
Well, and they said we tell him no every time he asks. No, you can't. We don't do that. We can't. And then this time, we said yes, if you were willing. So when you're willing, so yeah, it's going to happen. And I said, great, bring him out. I'm not alert because I would be going, wait a minute, I have a kid?
Right.
I don't owe child support because I don't remember any of this. What do you mean I have a, I wasn't in a state where I could realize the incredible ramifications of there being a child of mine mixed with beings from somewhere else. You couldn't really comprehend it in the moment. They didn't really think on it. They just wanted your active participation for the kids.
Sure.
And I said, yeah, sure, bring them out. And they said, well, wait a minute. And now I'm fairly alert. Listen, before we bring him out, he is not going to look like you, okay? You're going to think he looks weird. You're going to think he looks strange. But you cannot think that because he's like us. If you think that, he will hear you just like we do, and he will be devastated.
You'll give him a complex.
They said he will be crushed, and we like this kid, so don't screw this up. He said, listen, we're going to be in there with you, meaning my head. So helping you not to think he looks weird, all right? Mm-hmm. But we can't do it all on our own. You got to not think he looks weird, okay? And I'm like, yeah, he doesn't look weird. Sure. No, you got it? Just like that. I said, I got it. And okay, bring him out. And there was a side corridor that was dark, and coming out of the dark is this hybrid with a female, a gray, like a nurse or a teacher, but she was clearly female. I've only met males ever. This was a female, and she didn't look different. She wasn't wearing high heels and a push-up bra. Just another gray, but you
can tell.
The connection with these things is not just the words they put in your head. You get a sense of them, and just like they read you, and you sense their emotions. If they're having a strong emotion, it comes off them. And when they were talking about my child, my son, I could feel this. I wouldn't say it was love, but I could feel affection. They were bragging about him like a grandparent, pulling his wallet out on a city bus and showing the guy next to him.
Yeah.
Serious. And they liked him. I was just playing a part for this kid. So they bring him out, right? And I see them, and he's like 3 feet tall, and he's radiating these emotions like crazy. And it was mostly affection, like love, but with fear and nervousness and all of those mixed in, because I'm certain they tell them, oh, we don't know. They're like animals. They're violent. You don't know.
Right.
They think of us as barbarians, I believe. Yes.
Barbaric.
Yeah. So maybe that was instilled in the kid, and he was a little afraid, but he was desperate to meet me, they said.
Sure.
And Ray says to me, meanwhile, it's 20 seconds ago, they told me I have an alien kid, right? And the kid goes, go ahead. Talk to him. Go ahead. What? Okay. And I was so sedated, I couldn't think clearly. I could have really communicated, but I just small talked him. I was like, hey, so great to meet you. You know,
Right.
I hear you're doing great in your school, and wow, that's totally awesome. You know, and he's looking up at me, and the way he looked, I mean, he had a big head, right, but not a ridiculous one. Small little body and short little legs, and he was mostly bald. He first of all, he was pink. He wasn't gray or anything like that. He was, you know, flesh pink. Now he wasn't shot pink.
Sure.
And there was a little more pink to his cheeks, you know, and he was almost bald, but there was some straggly hair, like a guy who's almost completely bald, right? Straggly hair. But then he had like a forelock of hair right here. There was a little tuft. And it was my hair color, you know? But I'm looking at his proportions, and the one thing this is what he looked like to me. He looked like Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown has the tuft of hair, and that's balding, straggly on top with a big head, short legs. But he had my family's features. He had my mom's nose and mouth and chin. And I'll say this is an interesting detail, I think, is that his eyes, they were a little bigger than usual, and they were big pupils, right? But there was an iris around the black pupil and my brown, and at the corners you could see that there were whites to his eyes.
The sclera.
Yeah. So I'm just small talking him, and it was an embarrassment. And the kid ignored me. He's still looking up at me. And he points to my chest. And he says, "Who are they? Are they important to you? To us?" You know, he was asking, is that family? Who are they? Are they important to us? And I looked down, and it was on my shirt. It was 4 faces. It was the Beatles.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like 1968 or 69. One of the last photo shoots. They're all standing in profile, like Mount Rushmore in black and white. Hair.
Okay.
Blood. And I said, no, I don't. He asked, "Do you love them?" And I said, "Well, I love them, but I don't know.
Right.
They aren't family. They're the Beatles. Do you know the Beatles? You know." Well,
yeah.
But I was sedated. And I'm trying to connect with this kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, you know, guys, sorry, but we're at an hour and a half, and our editor is going to be really ticked off if we go any further than this. We're only allowed so many megabytes or something.
Well, so tell us what you've got going on in the future. If you want to tell us about the book that's coming out, and any other things you'd like to plug. This is your moment for that.
Okay. Well, it'll be a while for the book. We're working on it. We are. And we're going to Montreal. We're going to be on Area 52. We have to straighten a few things out before Canada will let us in. But and we're going to record a few episodes up there and really get into stuff.
Great.
And we thank you for having us on.
Thank you very much for coming on. This was such an important story, and I really wanted it told.
Right.
Of course, there's so many of your experiences that we weren't able to get into, and we're hoping to have you back again in the future. Would that be all right?
Sure. There's plenty of interesting things that we weren't able to cover.
Yeah,
Sure.
You take 60 combined years of abductions.
Yeah.
My mom and Sean and me and our dad. It's, we have to pick. And so we covered a lot of the important ones tonight, especially the 96 episode, which is why we are here with you. And
Right.
Thank you
very much.
Well, as soon as the book comes out, we'll have you back again for that, too.
Oh, that would
definitely promote it for you, too.
Yes, and you can tell us all about it.
It's been so nice. And Christina Hartley gave us this recommendation. If you know her,
yes,
for
sure.
We met her. She was great.
You can't forget Christina.
Contact in the Desert. Yes.
Oh, fantastic!
Very interesting.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, guys. And remember, stay on for a little bit.